We're getting pretty good at breaking an interval into 4 equal pieces, but so far they've all started at 0, and it gets a little more challenging if the interval starts someplace other than 0, which can happen. So I'm going to imagine a scenario where I have an interval that starts at pi over 4 and ends at 9 pi over 4, and I want to break this into 4 equal pieces by finding the halfway mark, and I'm finding the halfway mark of those halfway marks. Now, the first thing to just remind you of is pi's, the 4's, the fact that that's fractions and the pi's in there can mess with your head. But honestly, if we have common denominators and everything has a pi, for this part we can kind of ignore the fact that these things even happen. If you're not sure what I mean, here's what I'm saying. Pi over 4 is the same thing as like 1 pi over 4. I want to split the interval from pi over 4 to 9 pi over 4 in half, and then those halves into halves. Since they both have a pi and they both have a 4, I can just think right now about what those coefficients on the pi are. And I can try to find the halfway point between those numbers. Once I know that halfway point, I can tack a pi over 4 onto it, and it's going to be this halfway point of those new values. So maybe you look at 1 and 9 and you know off the bat that it's going to be 5, because you know that 5 is 4 away from 9 and 4 away from 1. But for me, I had to use a different trick. If I want to find the halfway point between two numbers, an option that I always have is just to find the average of those numbers. So I'm going to basically find the average of 9 and 1 by adding those numbers together and then dividing by 2. So 9 plus 1 is 10, divided by 2 is 5. 5 is the halfway mark between these two things. So between here and here, it's 5 pi over 4. Now to break these halves and halves, similar trick. Maybe you can just look and see that it's 3. If not, find the average of 1 and 5. 1 plus 5 is 6, divided by 2 is 3, so that would be 3. That'll be 3 pi over 4. And then similarly, halfway between these two things would be a 7, so we'll just say 7 pi over 4. Now that's great for one interval, but what about another interval, the one that's like way over here, the one that goes from negative 7 pi over 4 up to pi over 4? Now, you're like, where do you get that number from? Don't worry about that right now, because that will tell you later on. But let's say we had to do a similar thing between these two numbers. So I want to break the interval from negative 7 pi over 4 to pi over 4 into 4 equal pieces. It's the same exact trick, of course. They're both got a pi, they're both over 4, so I can deal with that later on. I just need to worry about negative 7 and 1 and what's halfway between these two things. If you can picture a number line and want to go smack to the middle, good for you. If you just want to take the average, that trick still works. So negative 7 plus 1 is negative 6. Divided by 2 is negative 3, is smack between these two things. It is 4 in each direction. So this is negative 3 with a pi over 4. Halfway between these two things is going to be, add those up, you get negative 10. Divided by 2 is negative 5. Or maybe now you're seeing the pattern in these numbers, maybe. But if not, we'll just continue as if. Add those together is negative 2 divided by 2, negative 1 pi over 4. So that's how I can take these weirdly end-pointed intervals and break them into 4 equal pieces. And we're going to see that in action with the very next graph that we do. I can hardly